My name is Michael. I'm 42. I work logistics for a distribution yard in Texas, just outside San Antonio. I don't manage the trucks. I load them. Long days, steady pay. The kind of job that leaves your hands sore and your boots stiff with dust by sundown. No office. No title. But every month, the mortgage clears, the fridge stays full, and the gas tank never runs dry. I don't go out much. I don't chase thrills. But I show up. I hold the line. That's who I've always been. The man who shows up when it's hard. Especially when others don't. 6 years ago, I met Liz at a birthday barbecue. Her laugh came easy, but her eyes had that weight. Like someone who'd been left holding too much for too long. We dated quiet. No drama, no whirlwind. Just two people who needed something solid. Something slower. Something that wouldn't leave. She had a daughter, Laura. 15 when I first met her. Sharp tongue, practiced silence. I knew the look. I'd seen it on the faces of kids who learn too early that adults make promises they don't intend to keep. She didn't hate me. She just didn't trust that I'd stay. And why would she? Her biological father, Dan, popped in like a commercial break. Sometimes holidays. Sometimes birthdays. Always loud. Always smiling. Always empty. He gave her AirPods 1 year, a scooter the next. Said he was starting a business. Said he'd send money when he got on his feet. The feet never arrived. Me? I didn't try to win her over. No speeches. No gifts. Just small things. I changed the brakes on her bike. Waited in the car during her driving lessons. Fixed her laptop screen after she slammed it shut too hard. Paid for things without being asked. Sat through school plays and dentist appointments. The invisible work of parenting, the kind that doesn't get mentioned in toasts or thank you notes. I figured if I kept showing up, one day she'd see it. Maybe not love. Maybe not even dad. But something close. Something like respect. For a while, it looked like it was working. She started texting me. Little things, "What's mom cooking?" Or, "Can you check the laundry?" It wasn't warmth, not exactly, but it was contact. Connection. On the nights Liz got short-tempered, it was me who got the heads up. "She's in a mood," Laura would write, which was her way of saying, "Help." She baked once some half-burnt banana bread and asked me to try it first. She joked that I was the only one brave enough. I laughed, played along, told her it wasn't bad. Too much baking soda, but I didn't say that out loud. There were moments. Small, flickering things that felt like a door cracking open. Not much, just enough to make me believe that maybe one day I wouldn't be just the guy who came with her mother. Maybe I'd be more. Then came prom. She'd been planning for weeks. Pinterest boards, late-night calls, trips to the mall. Liz and I covered everything. The dress. The shoes. The salon visit. Even the damn limo. I didn't argue, not once. I wanted her to feel special. To have a night that belonged only to her. I watched her come down the stairs that evening. All glitter and eyeliner and nerves. She looked grown. Scarily grown. Liz took 1,000 pictures. I just stood there with my hands in my pockets, trying not to look awkward. She didn't ask for a photo with me. I drove her to the school in the rented black stretch. She barely said a word in the back seat, but I didn't mind. The night was about her. We pulled into the parking lot. Her friends were already gathering near the gym entrance. Sequins, corsages, high heels wobbling across the pavement. She stepped out, hair perfect, confidence rising. I stood 10 feet away, just off to the side, hands in my pockets, watching her light up as the crowd swallowed her. I heard one of her friends ask, "Who's that?" She didn't miss a beat. "Oh, him? That's just the guy who drives me." Laughter followed. Not cruel, just thoughtless. Dismissive. She didn't even glance back. Not Michael. Not my stepdad. Not even my mom's husband. Just the guy. A nameless ride. An afterthought in black boots. I didn't flinch. I didn't call out. I just turned, got back in the driver's seat, and stared out the windshield for a full minute. There wasn't any rage. No big swelling of emotion. Just a stillness. Cold and clear. Like a light switch flipping off. 2 blocks away, near a gas station, I saw a familiar car parked crooked in a side lot. Red Honda, scuffed bumper. Dan was leaning against it, checking his phone, dressed like he'd walked out of a dive bar 2 decades too late. Probably had plans to surprise her. He always did. I pulled up, rolled the window down. "You taking over from here?" I asked. He squinted. "What?" Parked. Got out. Tossed him the limo keys. "Your turn behind the wheel," I said. No emotion. Just the facts. He caught the keys clumsily. "Where's Laura?" "At the venue. She's expecting a ride home." "You're it now." He blinked like he'd just stepped into a scene he didn't understand. But I was already walking. I didn't look back. Back at the house, Liz was still scrolling through pictures. "Did she get there okay?" she asked without looking up. I nodded. "She's fine." She didn't ask anything else. An hour later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. From Liz. "Why is Laura calling me from the venue saying she can't get in?" From Laura. "The dress is still tagged. They're making a scene. My card isn't working. What the hell is going on?" I turned the phone face down and went back to doing what I was doing. Fixing the cabinet hinge that always sagged near the pantry. I'd meant to fix it for weeks. Prom night seemed as good a time as any. That weekend, nothing got said. Liz walked around with quiet eyes. Laura didn't come home Saturday night. Sunday she did. Stormed into her room, slammed the door, locked it. She didn't thank me. She didn't ask why I'd stepped away. I think part of her already knew. The money had always come quietly, steady, like water through the pipes, invisible until it stops. When the limo didn't arrive, when the card bounced, when the dress beeped at the venue entrance because the sensor hadn't been clipped, that's when they noticed. And that's when I realized something deeper than anger. I had become a utility, a line item, a silent sponsor, not a father, not even a man, just a function, just the guy who drives her. Well, not anymore. After prom, the silence didn't last. She came home 2 days later like nothing had happened. Kicked her shoes off by the stairs, dropped her purse on the kitchen counter, asked Liz what was for dinner. No mention of the card, the tag, the man who drove her home instead of me. Liz didn't bring it up either. I waited, listened. Nothing. I kept track. Not in a bitter way. Just quiet bookkeeping, the kind you do when you've stopped guessing what your place is. When you're done pretending that sacrifice is enough. Laura had just turned 18. Legally an adult. But in that house, adulthood was a costume. Something she wore when she wanted freedom, not when she owed responsibility. She lived with us rent-free. No chores. No rules. Liz said, "She's finding herself." I said, "She's freeloading." We didn't fight about it. Not then. But the lines had started to show. Laura worked part-time at a coffee shop, the kind of job that left her just enough money for gas and eyelash appointments. What she lacked in income, she made up for in attention. She was growing a following online. Makeup tutorials. Hair dye transitions. Get ready with me. I watched from a distance occasionally. The screen glowed, her face practiced and polished. A version of her that smiled far more than she ever did in real life. Her room became a maze of ring lights, cords, tripods, and backdrop curtains that clashed with the wallpaper I had painted just 2 summers before. When I opened her door, always with a knock, it was like walking into a set. I didn't belong there, not even as a shadow. But here's the thing, I built that set. I installed the wall mounts, bought the LED panel lights, laid extension cords under rugs so she wouldn't trip. She'd mentioned once, offhand, that she wanted a streaming look, and I'd spent a weekend researching how to set it up on a budget. One trip to the hardware store, $237 later, and the room glowed like a studio. I didn't expect praise, just acknowledgement. I got neither. When I brought up the electric bill, how it had jumped nearly $90 that month. She didn't flinch. "Not my problem," she said flatly. "I didn't ask you to do all this." The words didn't sting right away. They hung in the air like smoke, settling slowly. I went to the garage that night and stood in front of my toolbox, staring at the drill set I'd used to hang her shelves. The same drill she'd borrowed and never returned. I listed everything I'd paid for in my phone. A note titled, "Contributions." It wasn't petty. It was clarity. Then came the crack I couldn't ignore. She had her friends over one night. 3 of them. Voices bouncing off the hallway walls. I stayed downstairs, half watching a game I didn't care about. I wasn't eavesdropping. Not at first. But then I heard her laugh, high sharp, followed by the sentence that reset everything. "He thinks he's part of our lives. It's kind of adorable. Not cruel. Not venomous. Just matter of fact. Like I was a delusion. A well-meaning glitch." I didn't storm upstairs. Didn't slam any doors. I just stared at the TV, now silent, and scrolled through my note again. Mirror. Lights. Tripods. Mounting brackets. Surge protectors. Cable management ties. Every little thing I had done to support a world I was never meant to enter. At midnight, I waited for her light to go off. Then I pulled the toolbox from the garage and crept upstairs like a man robbing his own life. I unmounted everything I had installed, clean, careful, surgical. No damage, just subtraction. By morning, the room was bare again. The LED panels were packed neatly into a box. The mounts were unscrewed, holes patched. Even the cables were coiled. Her desk sat empty except for a handwritten note I left behind. "You said I'm not part of your life, so I'm no longer funding the parts that depend on me." I set the box by the front door, took the receipt folder from my desk and drove to the store. Most items were within the return window. "Store credit," they said. I nodded. It wasn't about the money. It was about memory. I kept the card in my wallet. Not to use, just to remind myself. I can leave, and the world won't stop spinning. When Laura woke up and found the room stripped, she screamed. Not in sadness, in disbelief. Like something sacred had been stolen. Liz ran up the stairs. I didn't follow. Minutes later, footsteps pounded down. Laura stormed into the kitchen, phone in hand, camera already recording. I was pouring coffee. "You're seriously insane," she spat. "You took down my whole setup? Are you kidding me?" I sipped slowly. "I removed what I paid for, what I installed, what I maintained. You said I wasn't part of your life. Okay, so you're gonna sabotage me because your feelings got hurt? That's not parenting, that's control." "No," I said evenly. "Control is pretending I owe you something after you've told me I'm irrelevant. This is a boundary." She scoffed, turned the camera toward herself. "This man thinks taking away a couple lights is gonna stop me. Bet." She posted the video. I watched it later, cropped my voice, made me look petty. Dramatic music underlined her fake tears. Comments rolled in. "OMG, he's so toxic. Why are you even still living there? Cut him off, Queen." I didn't respond. That night I went into the garage again. Not with a drill this time, but with a printer. I listed every other line she was still connected to through me. Her phone line on my family plan. Her car insurance discounted because it bundled with mine. The Netflix, Hulu, and Spotify accounts all paid through my card. Extra iCloud storage. Uber Pass. Amazon Prime. I printed the list, folded it once, and left it under her bedroom door. The title said, "Effective this month. Separation of lifestyle and life." The next day, I called the phone provider and removed her line. She still had her phone, but no data. Just Wi-Fi. Spotify froze 2 days later. Amazon kicked her out when the package tracking failed. She came downstairs midweek, red-faced, holding the printed list in her hand like it was evidence in a courtroom. "You're literally ruining my life," she said. I looked up from the sink. "No, I'm removing myself from it." She blinked. That wasn't the answer she expected. "Don't you get how immature this is?" "I do," I said. "I get that you think adulthood is freedom without cost. But I've stopped underwriting the illusion." She looked to Liz, who had come into the kitchen mid-confrontation. "Mom, are you seriously okay with this?" Liz didn't answer right away. Her silence wasn't neutral. It was frightened. She looked at me, then back at Laura. "He's been paying for all of it. Liz said softly. All of it. You knew that. I thought it was like household stuff, Laura muttered. Not my stuff. Liz didn't say anything else, just turned and left the room. And that, more than any list, more than any cutoff, was the moment it started to shift. 2 nights later, Laura came into the garage while I was oiling a hinge. No phone, no friends, no camera, just her. She sat on the bench and spoke without looking at me. I think I was mad at my dad, she said. I didn't interrupt. But it was easier to take it out on you, because you were there, and he wasn't. I nodded once. I'm not asking for anything, she added. Just wanted you to know that. That hit harder than the disrespect. Because it was true, and it meant she knew. The next week, she got her own prepaid plan. I didn't suggest it. She just did. Paid with tips from the cafe. Her tone changed. Not polite but quieter. More careful. She started turning lights off when she left rooms. Asked if she could borrow my drill, then returned it, charged. She didn't apologize again. Not in words. But one morning I saw her filming a new video, nothing flashy. Just her sitting on her bed, talking about budget studio setups. Her title was Redesigning from Scratch. DIY version. She didn't mention me, didn't thank me. But in her notes, I saw the words, tools borrowed, returned. It wasn't a truce, but it was a start. The house got colder after that. Not in temperature, that stayed the same, but in tone. Fewer doors slammed. Fewer words exchanged. It was like everyone had taken a step back, waiting to see what came next. Laura wasn't hostile anymore, just silent. The same way a forest quiets after a fire. Not healed, not safe, just watchful. Liz walked softly too. She didn't say much, not about what I'd done, not about what Laura had said. She was trying to keep the peace, but I could feel it, the shift. She didn't see me as wrong, but she didn't quite know how to stand beside me either. It was the first time I realized how many bridges I'd built entirely on my own, and how easy it was for everyone else to simply stop walking across them. The silence should have felt like victory. Instead, it just confirmed something I'd been afraid to say out loud. I had never really been part of their center. Just an orbiting satellite. Useful, consistent, replaceable. Then the backlash started. It didn't come from Laura first. It came from the internet. The clip she'd filmed. The one where she cried about her toxic stepdad taking away her independence. Blew up. Hundreds of comments. Teenagers, mostly. Strangers who knew nothing of our house, our bills, our history. People who believed their opinions mattered just because they typed them fast. This is abuse. He's punishing you for being successful. Move out. Go no contact. You don't need that energy. And the one that stuck out, buried between emojis and keyboard righteousness. He's just mad you're independent. Independent. That word did something to me, because I'd seen her version of independence. I funded it, propped it up with cable ties and quiet sacrifices. Watched her post affiliate links while riding the invisible escalator I built beneath her. There's no faster way to learn how little people value you than when they call your support control. I didn't confront her, didn't engage. I just watched, and then waited. 2 days later, the cracks showed again. She knocked on the garage door around 9 p.m. Soft, hesitant. I was working on the mower. She stood there, hoodie on, hair tied up, no makeup, no phone in her hand. Just her. Can I talk to you? I set the wrench down. She stepped in slowly, like the air was different here. It was, I'm sorry, she said, barely a whisper. I waited. Not because I needed to punish her, because I needed to know which version of her I was speaking to. I think I messed up, she continued. I said stuff I didn't really mean. About you. Online. To my friends. To Mom. I think I just got used to you always being there. And when you stopped, it felt like betrayal. But really, I think it was the other way around. That hit like a gut punch. Not because it hurt, because it was true. I think I was angry at my dad, she said quietly. And it was easier to take it out on you, because you were actually here. We sat in silence. I didn't tell her I forgave her. I didn't reach across the distance. But I nodded. Because what she'd said, that was the first honest sentence she'd spoken to me in months. Maybe years. She left the garage without asking for anything. The next morning, I found the folded list I had printed, the one with all the services I'd canceled, on the kitchen counter. A sticky note attached. I'll start covering my own extras. Keep the Wi-Fi, I'm still finishing school stuff. I didn't reply, but I left a small breakfast for her in the fridge. 2 boiled eggs, toast, black coffee with a lid. The eggs were gone by noon. The coffee cup was rinsed and returned to the sink. A truce, not a treaty. And then came the next test. Her dad, Dan, he called out of nowhere. Said he'd seen the video. Said he wanted to help. Make it right, he said. Promised to buy her a new camera, a real one. Better lighting. A green screen. Full setup. She lit up like Christmas morning. He said he's wiring the money Friday, she told Liz. Loud enough for me to hear. Finally stepping up. Liz looked cautious. She'd heard promises before. Friday came. No deposit. No message. No call. Saturday passed. Still nothing. By Sunday, the silence was deafening. Laura didn't say anything. But that night, I heard it. The quiet sobbing behind her door. Not dramatic. Not loud. The kind of crying people do when they realize a truth they've avoided for years has finally become undeniable. I didn't go to her room. I didn't offer advice. I just left a note on the counter before I left for work Monday morning. Breakfast is in the fridge. You're allowed to be disappointed. Just don't let that turn you into someone you wouldn't respect. No name signed. No lecture attached. Later that week, I found the note folded neatly and tucked inside her planner. I didn't say anything. Neither did she. Respect had become a currency. And for the first time, she was starting to understand its value. The next shift was practical. Subtle. She switched to a prepaid phone. Paid it herself. Picked up more shifts at the cafe. She still filmed, but the lights were thrifted. The camera borrowed. Her room wasn't a studio anymore, it was a workspace. She cleaned up without being told. Offered to drive herself. Started writing her own checks for her car insurance, small amounts, but it mattered. One morning, she knocked on my door. Not Liz's. Mine. Do we still have the measuring tape? I handed it to her. What for? I want to build a new shelf. Something for my equipment. Cheap but clean. I paused. You want help? She shrugged. I'd appreciate it. If you're not busy. I helped her cut the wood that weekend. We didn't talk much. Just worked. Sanded the edges. Screwed the brackets in tight. She painted it herself. When she mounted the shelf, she posted a video. Redesigning my studio on a budget with help. No name mentioned. But I saw my drill in the background. My measuring tape on the desk. The credit wasn't verbal. It was spatial. She had made room for me. Not by force, not by guilt, but by effort. And then, something I never expected. She brought her camera to the garage one evening. Thinking of filming a DIY repair series, she said. Stuff like this, you know. Real stuff. Maybe we could do one together? I didn't answer right away. Not because I was unsure, but because it was the first time she'd invited me in without asking for money or tools. Just time. I'll think about it, I said. She smiled. That's fair. And left. Later that night, I sat alone and watched one of her old videos, the one where she called me controlling, where she played the victim, twisted the story, harvested sympathy. Then I watched the new one, her building the shelf, her voice calmer, humble, focused on the work, not the drama. No tears, no blame, just building. And that's when it hit me. She was growing up. Not quickly, not cleanly, but surely. Not because I forced her, because I stopped forcing myself to carry it all. Respect, it turns out, isn't about constant giving. It's about knowing when to stop. Because if people only appreciate you when the faucet's running, you'll never know if they're thirsty for you, or just what you provide. In pulling back, I'd made space. Space she could choose to step into or not. She chose to. and that mattered more than any apology ever could. The quiet settled like dust. No arguments. No late-night shouts. Just the calm aftermath of a storm no one had the strength to name. The kind of silence you get when a house finally understands who does what and who doesn't. Laura kept her head down. She started paying for her own phone plan in full. Switched her streaming services to her name. Even told Liz she'd start buying some of her own groceries, almond milk, protein bars, things only she touched. I watched her place them on the fridge door. She didn't say a word. Didn't expect applause. The small gestures kept coming. Light switches clicked off behind her. Her laundry got done before it piled up. She rinsed her own dishes. Her tone shifted. Softer. Not submissive, just aware. Aware that things cost. That people do too. I didn't chase it. Didn't try to name what was happening. You don't corner growth. You let it root. Then came the ask. Can I borrow your drill again? I nodded and handed it over. This time it came back the same day. Fully charged. Clean. She didn't thank me. She just set it on my workbench with care. That was enough. She started filming again. Budget tutorials, DIY camera setups. Living on less guides. One night, I watched her newest video without telling her. She said something that made me freeze. I used to think independence meant doing whatever I wanted. But now I think it means owning the cost of the choices you make. It didn't mention me. Didn't need to. The words landed. Her audience had changed too. Less noise. Fewer pity seekers. More substance. People trying to build, not just perform. But growth never travels in a straight line. And one evening reminded me of that. I was cleaning out the garage when I heard her voice. Not shouting, but sharp. No, Dad. You said Friday. A pause. You promised. You said you'd send it. Another pause. Yeah. Okay. Bye. The call ended. I heard her sit down heavily on the stairs just outside the garage. Her voice was quieter now. Worn down. He said he'll try, she muttered. Again. I didn't say anything. Just handed her a bottle of water and went back to sorting tools. The next morning, there was a note on the counter in her handwriting. I'm not asking you to fix anything. Just needed somewhere to sit last night. That one hit me hard. Because it was the first time she acknowledged it. The gap between blood and reliability. Between promises and presence. The camera he promised her, the one he said he'd pay for, never came. Instead, she filmed on her cracked phone screen. Duct-taped a flashlight to her tripod for lighting. Made do. One night, she knocked on the door to the garage again. I'm thinking of doing a video about the stuff people don't see, she said. Like, what's actually behind the lens? The part nobody talks about. I didn't ask what she meant. I want it to be honest, she added. But I'm scared that if I show too much, people won't respect me. I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't the same girl who had called me just the driver. She wasn't the echo of her father's broken promises anymore either. She was in the space between. I wiped grease from my hands and told her something I wish someone had told me when I was her age. People don't respect perfection. They respect process. Especially the part where you stop pretending you never needed help. She nodded slowly. Eyes glassy but dry. She never posted that video. But she did something else. She started telling the truth. Not in dramatic monologues or viral edits. Just in how she lived. She showed her setup as it was. Mentioned how she saved up for secondhand gear. Admitted when she didn't know something. Credited people, even me, when she learned a new skill. Respect, it turned out, wasn't a product of exposure. It was a result of exposure without flinching. Then came the big shift. Liz came home with a letter in hand. Laura had been offered a small grant through the local college. Not enough to pay for everything, but enough to cover half the tuition if she kept working part-time. It was a win, but it came with strings. I need to write a letter of recommendation, Laura said. From someone who supported me. I raised an eyebrow. You're asking? She hesitated. I'm not asking for you to write it. Just wondering if you'd be okay if I mentioned you. That pause said everything. She wasn't sure if she still had the right. Your call. I said. She nodded. A week later, I saw the draft on the printer. She hadn't meant for me to see it, but it was there, left by accident. Or maybe not. My stepfather, Michael, has been the most consistent presence in my life. He never asked for recognition, but without him, there would have been no lights for my videos, no Wi-Fi for my uploads, no sense of structure. I didn't always treat him with respect. I thought I was owed something, but now I see I was just protected, and protection is a gift, not a right. She didn't sign it, didn't finish the closing paragraph, but it was enough. She submitted it 2 days later, got the grant, started classes at the community college that fall. She didn't ask for help buying books, didn't ask for rides, just used what she had. That's how I knew she'd changed. Not because she suddenly loved me, not because she apologized every day, but because she stopped expecting a life someone else built. She started building her own. One night, months later, we sat in the garage together. She was cutting wood for a new project, a background frame for her videos, something she'd designed herself. She didn't need me, but she asked if I wanted to help. I said yes. While we worked, she looked at me and said, "I used to think you were trying to control me." I didn't stop sanding. "But I get it now. You weren't trying to be my dad. You were just trying to keep things from falling apart." She paused. "Let that hang. I think I pushed you away because if I accepted you, it meant admitting my real dad wasn't enough." There it was. The real wound. She wasn't rejecting me. She was trying to protect a fantasy. I put the sander down, looked her in the eyes. "I never asked to replace him," I said. "I just asked to matter." She nodded. "You did. I just didn't know how to say it until now." We finished the frame in silence. Later that night, I found her watching one of her oldest videos, the dramatic one, the one where she painted me as the villain. She didn't cry, just shook her head. Then she deleted it. No fanfare, no announcement, just gone. And that meant more than any apology ever could. Here's what I've learned. Being a stepfather means building something you may never get credit for. It means showing up while someone else gets the love, the title, the claim. It means paying for groceries while being told you're not real family. It means being the wall others lean on and still being left out of the family photos. But the hardest lesson? Respect isn't earned by overgiving. It's earned when you stop giving where it isn't returned. It's earned when you pull the plug. Not in anger, but in truth. People don't value the things they assume will always be there. And sometimes the only way to teach them is to vanish from their comfort until they feel the cold. Would you have endured it? Would you have kept paying to be invisible? Or would you have done what I did? Stepped back, let the silence do the talking, and waited to see who grew from it? Because in the end, parenting, real parenting, isn't about love returned. It's about sacrifice made without applause, and the courage to walk away when you've given all you can. So I ask you, whoever's listening, was I wrong to stop funding a life that erased me? Or was that the only way left to teach the value of what I gave? Tell me, what would you have done?